welcome to the Ramble on.
All right, now
we will be getting into heavy spoilers with the show. We'll be talking about our favorite moments. We'll be getting into general things that we found that we loved, and this is generally just our chance to talk at length. So expect spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, check out our American recut. There will be a link in the comments.
Yep, and we heavily endorse the series anywho, so go and watch it if you don't want to take our word for it. So yeah, let's get right into it. Story.
I love the story for this one so much. It feels like it's a very competent, well-paced fantasy story overall. I was worried that we would be getting like a thing where they just wrapped it up way too quick at the end, but they end on a huge cliffhanger. So there's hope that they got endorsed for a second or third season. Like, the sets to build and the puppets they're using are so expensive, there's no way they didn't negotiate for like a 2 or 3 season arc.
It would be interesting to see if they do a second season. So, I don't know. So, as I said in the American recut, I'm iffy on the second season notion, mainly because we know how the series ends. If you haven't watched the Dark Crystal movie, I revisited the 1986 film, the original one. And we all know how it ends. The Gelfling lose, the Garatham overpower them, harvest every last Gelfling, and yada yada yada.
The Garatham? Who are they?
So the combination of Aratham and those Grunics, those guys who had their mouths sewn shut.
Oh, okay. Because I completely forgot about the actual original Dark Crystal movie. I had not gone back and rewatched that yet.
Okay, so yeah. So anyway, in the end of the 10th episode, the scientist finally makes the Garatham army, which is a recurring enemy in the original film, and it is this giant crustacean, this spider-like crustacean, dark shell, very terrifying.
I think that one of the favorite things about watching this as a series is there's a lot of, I want to call it like misfired Chekhov's guns, where there's a lot of things where they're set up where you expect it to be a big payoff, like with the slaves, where you expect the slaves to somebody like, it's pretty established that they're super strong, they're competent, and then when they rise up, they both get murdered horribly and turn into a monster. Like, it's great how they handle violence in this, because a lot of times the violence will happen just off screen, but you'll see blood splatters hit things.
Yeah.
Or like these little animals in the lab just get covered in blood.
Yeah. They do portray violence adequately. I mean,
there's moments where it's like actually pretty horrifying how quickly someone will get killed off in like an unexpected way.
Well, this is geared toward a younger audience because, I mean, it's a Jim Henson production, so it is geared to a younger audience typically. But what age demographic would you say this is more suited for?
I want to call this early teens.
Yeah.
Probably early teen or so. Because, I mean, the kids are resilient, obviously. Like, they can watch a lot of stuff that has a lot of dark overtones and miss it completely.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. But this is one where I feel like this is kind of an all-ages thing, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Like, with the Emperor and his kind of horrible fear of death that leads him down to this really dark path of using the Darkening.
Yeah.
Kind of destroying himself to prevent his death.
Not to mention, you are totally right. There's enough political intrigue to draw you in with the Skeksis and the Gelflings. There's a whole lot of...
I think that if they do a season 2, they'll probably bring in a lot more Skeksis, because we know there's a total of 18 Skeksis throughout the land.
Yes!
Two of them are dead. We've seen about 9 or 10 of them, I want to say.
I think there's like, what? So how many died? I think 3 or 4, right?
The General died, the Hunter died, and the Heretic died.
The Heretic died, and didn't one get blown up? Didn't the one that sneezed a lot get blown up?
Oh, you're right. The Collector. Yeah, the Collector also did get killed as well.
But... I
forgot that she got blown up by Deet's dark powers.
Yeah, so Deet can
She can redirect energy.
You know what? That's a good point. Maybe there should be a second season, because I would kind of like to have that expanded upon a little more.
We've got the corruption of Deet that's kind of happened over the course of the whole season, which I really like how Deet's handling the season. We'll get to her more later.
Yeah.
There's Deet, there's the Crystal Shard, there's Celadon, who kind of had to learn the hard way that the Skeksis were actually horrible people. Like, she goes there to negotiate peace, and she's like got a plan that would kind of work if this is like a standard fantasy. Like, okay, I'll offer them everything if they just let some of us live. But the Skeksis are drunk on power at this point and just tell her no to her face to everything. And yeah, no, we're going to murder all of you.
Straight up. No, they're done pussyfooting around this and just cut right to the chase and just say straight up no.
And this another thing, too, is the Skeksis, we can see how they kind of become more and more corrupt and more aggressive as they take in more essence as well. Like,
yeah.
Early on, the scientist has some protestations and like some hesitance about like killing off all the Gelfling to power the essence.
Right.
And then eventually he's in on it as well. There's so much cool stuff going on in this series.
It really is.
I love the shifting sands when they first get there. That establishing shot, the giant manta ray thing that flies over. It's so cool.
So gorgeous. So surreal. It's so...
The Heretics puppet show. There's so many cool little moments.
There really are. No, like you said, they build this world. They expanded upon this world tremendously with excruciating detail.
Speaking of this world, do you feel like it's a tiny world or a big world? Because I feel like there's a certain tininess to this world, because the way they get around, while they address how they get around every time, they get around it really fast.
They do. I think, maybe all the more reason for a second season is because there's 7 Gelfling clans that were introduced to...
I want to say 4 of them.
4 of them, yeah.
The Vathra, the Groddens, the Desert Clan briefly, and Stonewood.
And some of the queens from the other clans are introduced briefly and side with the Almadra temporarily, but then they kind of return to their respective homes, which I hope we get introduced to in a second season if they do that.
Oh, the Seafoot. We also met the Seafoot. I forgot about them.
The Seafoot. What are they?
They were the seafaring ones who leave with the tide.
You're right. The seafaring ones. Yes. That would be also an interesting concept to explore as well, because I don't think there was an ocean in the fucking movie.
I thought... yeah, in the movie, I don't think we see a lot, but I think that this is just a small part of this world, is my theory. Like, this is kind of like a state-sized area where we have the 7 tribes in different areas of it, but no established nation yet.
Right. No, so the movie, as we all know, has a typical protagonist kind of spiel, journey and ending kind of ordeal where, hero triumphs over good. This TV series, we have a whole lot more going on, and it's fantastic.
It's not over yet either. Like, they very blatantly leave it at a cliffhanger.
They do, yeah. I mean, they do have to tie it into the original movie, and I think, the introduction of the crab monster in the end of the 10th episode is a good segue to the movie, because, I mean, they have to lose. I'm sorry, they have to lose.
They're going to lose eventually, yeah, but is it going to be that the Skeksis fall first? Because I don't think there's any Skeksis in the movie, are there?
There are Skeksis in the movie. There's like, because Chamberlain, actually, Chamberlain's the reason why I kind of picked up the movie again. After watching like 5 episodes, I recognized the Chamberlain from when I watched it as a kid, and I'm like, that motherfucker looks familiar.
It was him again?
Yeah, Chamberlain, it's the same Chamberlain from the TV show.
Aw, neat.
Right? I mean, I had to kind of compare notes here to see what the hell goes on, because when I first started watching the 5 episodes, I was thinking, like, is this an alternate universe thing? Is this a prequel? Is it a sequel? I have no fucking clue.
It could be an alternate universe. I could see it being an alternate universe if they wanted to take it that way. Like, I think enough time has passed, people have likely forgotten about the original movie, and it's such a strange universe in the first place that you could go alternate universe, and it would hold up well.
Truly, I agree. I would like to see it as an alternate universe, because, I mean, there's so much going on right now, and it's just so fascinating. But they have referenced the original film heavily in visions and in mechanics and what have you.
Oh, yeah, the future visions of Agra where she sees them losing the fight horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good in this show, but I think that as far as reviews go, because I don't think we want to just spend the whole time geeking out about the lore and what things mean and so on.
We have been geeking out about it.
This is a great show to watch with people and just kind of spin theories for a while about just what the hell does this mean?
Well, so if I may, let's draw appreciation back to puppetry, because that's something we haven't seen in a long-ass time. And, well, like you said, Nick, it is true that some puppetry can kind of denote the serious tones in this series.
I think that when I was talking about the puppetry as well and talking about that, I did make mention specifically that there are at least a few moments where they mess with the audience with that, and I think that the biggest Sam that is the Hunter. Because
Yes!
with the Hunter, he's very clearly a man in a suit and not a puppet. Because the way he moves so smoothly, the way he's much faster on his feet than any other Skeksis or Gelfling in general, the way that he moves kind of just a person in a suit makes him, in the context of the show, unnaturally fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is so dexterous, he's so smooth, he moves crazy quickly. It's so jarring to see that because of the puppets.
Right. No, he's really well done. And that's a good point. His people movement definitely kind of emphasizes his threat level, so that's pretty amazing.
And then there's some moments where they cheat and use CGI as well.
They
There's
do.
moments like when the hunter's jumping through the trees, like that's obvious CGI. There's moments with Lore where he's running along and kind of just does the rock thing.
Right. They use CGI, but sparingly. If they ever did use CGI, it's for the other creatures in this series, like the spiders, the worms.
The Airkid, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I talk about how much I like that the Aerithid became good guys by the end?
Yeah,
Like,
that was cool.
You never get to see that, where like the creepy spider people are actually willing to side with them.
Right?
Or especially with Tavra and the spider that was on her face, and how they kind of don't deal with the issue of we've been together too long, our minds have melted too much. We don't know who's who anymore.
Right? No, I mean that's that political intrigue where it's not all just black and white. There are some gray areas in it, and we always associate giant spiders as villains, but here they kind of redeem themselves. Like, oh, we sided with the wrong crew.
and the spiders return the favor when Deet and Rien try to save one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so much cool stuff. And Deet ends the series as like kind of a dark witch of sorts. And with Deet as well, this is one thing I like as well, is over the course of the series, we see her slowly get corrupted from her kind of pure form that she starts in. Because even by like episode 3, she's kind of talking shit about other people. She's using the excuses she's heard around her. She kind of figures out how to talk to people by deceiving them or just shouting about, like, the Blight's real! You're being racist!
Right. No, she definitely grows everyone grows as a character.
Rien doesn't really grow, but he's kind of your Aragorn character. He doesn't have to.
No, that's true. Aragorn, that's a good point. But, what was I going to say? I forgot.
I think for Rien and Bria, they have some really shitty stuff happen to them over the course of the series. Like, it's hard not to kind of sympathize with them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Bria's having a really bad month, week, or even a year.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, all kinds of relatives and friends and what have you, kidnapped, slain, and brutalized. It does one to one's psyche.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I appreciate about Bria is that she has her moments of genuine mourning. This is something we don't see often enough in a lot of TV shows, fantasy, what have you, is them stopping to mourn.
Right. This is a TV show done right, where you mentioned that there was enough pacing to not only build a good world, but also tell a good story. And they also kind of introduce serious tones in a kids series, or a younger adult series, which is kind of a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah, so I think as far as just, if I wanted to make a checklist of the stuff, like, alright, just organize this. Let's go with top 5 things that we like in the series, and and just the top 5 things that we like. So if you want to start with that.
Sure. Pacing. I like the pacing of it. It allowed for good stuff to go in, which allows me to segue to story. It was a very well-written, well-crafted story. The world is very detailed and imaginative, surreal world. That's rocks. Characters, that's 4. I mean, what's a story without its characters? And 5, I guess actually don't know. Those top 4 cinch it, really.
Alright, I'm going to take this in a different direction then. The first thing I really like is the Heretic. He is a wonderful character. He has a nice dynamic with his other half, his Mystic. He ends up being very charming when we meet him. He's a nice reprieve from the ultra seriousness of the story before that.
Yeah.
I love the Heretic as a character. Second thing I like is Deet. Her whole arc over the course of the series is really interesting to me, and this isn't something that you see often with these kind of Pixie Man Dream Girl characters, is them actually getting corrupted and becoming part of the world they go into. Third thing, the Chamberlain, excellent character.
Very.
I loved watching him work. He has his moments where you genuinely are kind of almost as tricked as the people he's tricking, where you wonder, is this really his position, or is it not? And then he'll kind of turn around and stab the general in the face and say, oh, no, he did not. The general's legit friend at all. Oh, no. Fourth thing I really liked, the world building in general. I love this world they've built. It is such an interesting world. It has so many little details squirreled away that they haven't told us about yet. There's so much cool stuff going on with the world.
Yeah.
And number 5, I would say, would probably be the Emperor as a character. Because the Emperor kind of has a reason for being the way he is. He has a legitimate fear of what comes after he dies, because he's not of Thra, he doesn't have anywhere he'll go after death, he doesn't know if he'll become one with his other half, he has a lifetime of regrets and pain that he's caused, and he is actively corrupting his body with the darkness to stave off having to face death ever.
This is true. Ooh.
So, I think that with that thing, because otherwise we will just keep on rambling into more and more and more of like, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool.
Yeah.
I think we just need to get into our final 1 or 2 sentence summary of the show, and a recommendation, or, well, just a recommendation of it in this case.
Oh, yeah. I give the show a 6 out of 5 stars. You know, I mean, it's just really so entertaining and so mesmerizing. It's so pretty to watch, and it's so awesome to watch.
I don't like number ratings, but I do highly recommend this show. It has some real forethought put behind the world that's being built and the story that's being told. If this is one of the few shows where you feel there's an experienced veteran hand guiding you through the story behind it, so you never have to feel like you're concerned about where the story is going. The characters are all interesting. The villains are fascinating. The effects look pretty darn good for what they are. I highly recommend this show in almost every way.
Agreed. All right. So you want to pick apart this a little more, or what are you?
I'd love to on my own time, but as far as like a review goes, it probably wouldn't be much more useful than doing that.
Good point. All right. Well, see you folks next movie, if we even do a movie, which...
Well, October is strong as hell. We're doing a movie.
Fair enough. All right. Well, see you next movie, folks.
Catch you later.